All right, thank you for your patience. We're going to get started. We have our own New York City Emergency Management Program Manager, Tony Ann, and Tony Ann is going to do the bio for Commissioner Curry.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the first session titled Best Practices and Considerations for Communities to Incorporate People with Disabilities when Planning for Emergencies. And our speaker today is Commissioner Christina Curry. Christina Curry was appointed Commissioner of the Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities by Mayor Adams in August of 2022. She began her career in rehabilitation as an advocate for the minority deaf, hard of hearing communities at the Lexington Center for the Deaf. There, she expanded into the mental health field as a mental health counselor working with the deaf, hard of hearing, domestic violence victims and survivors through the Barrier-Free Living Domestic Violence Non-Residential Program. Nationally, Curry has served on subcommittees attached to the National Council of Independent Living and the National Council on Disability. Statewide, Curry has served on the New York State HIV Advisory Board, the New York State HIV Planning and Prevention Board, and the New York State Independent Living Council Committee. Curry was appointed by former New York Governor David Paterson onto the Executive Board of the New York State Commission for the Blind and Interagency Council for the Deaf, Hard of Hearing, and Deafblind. Locally, Curry has participated in the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities Disability Mentoring Day and has served on the Office of Emergency Management's Special Needs Advisory Committee. Originally from the Bronx, Curry worked in Harlem for 20 plus years and considers it her second home. She has served on Community Board 10, on the Executive, Personnel, Health and Human Services, LGBTQ Task Force, and on Public Safety Committees. Curry joined the Harlem Independent Living Center in 1999 as Program Director, before being promoted to Executive Director in 2001. Curry has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Psychology and Education from Hunter College, City University of New York, and a Master's of Arts degree in Deafness Rehabilitation from NYU, and a Master of Public Administration degree in Emergency Management and Disaster Preparedness from Metropolitan College of New York. So it is my pleasure to welcome Commissioner Curry.
So first question, can you all see me okay? Next question, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Anyone deaf? Just me? Okay. I always ask first. I know we have interpreters, but I just like to be sure that we all have access. So, good morning. I wanted to also acknowledge before we go forward that my undergrad degree is from Hunter College in Psychology and Education. My master's degree is from NYU in Deafness Rehabilitation, and my MPA, Master's in for Emergency Management, comes from NCNY. So you don't have to look over there like, yeah, okay? And why is that all important? Because it all ties into disability, emergency preparedness, being ready. In the disability world, we have a motto: nothing about us without us. You don't talk about what is good for us without us there. Doesn't work. So today we're going to talk about best practices and considerations for communities to incorporate people with disabilities when planning for emergencies. That's near and dear to my heart. I became involved in emergency preparedness right after 9/11. My feeling is I'm not waiting for the firefighters, no matter how cute they are, to come and rescue me. I need to find my way out. I don't want to die. I choose life. So that's what I've been doing ever since, in some way, shape, or form. So I want you to always remember this one thing again: nothing about us without us. Ever. You don't get to tell me, as a person who's disabled, what will work for me in an emergency. So for those of you who don't know, if you have a vision loss, I'm a Black woman, I'm sitting in a high chair, and I really mean high chair. My feet are swinging, they don't touch the floor. It's kind of cute, I feel like a kid again. I'm wearing a check black and white and gray blazer with a black and white shirt underneath, black pants, and my black and white Puma sneakers. I believe in comfort at this point as opposed to function, sorry. Hurt feet does not help, especially in the event of emergency. Can't do very much. So, yes, I'm always thinking about emergency preparedness. And it doesn't have to be, a building collapsing. It could be your office that's flooded out. It could be something as simple as the garbage collection has not happened for a while. And therefore you've got garbage piled up in front of your building, and now you've got Mickey the Rat sitting in your office or your apartment. Trust me, that's an emergency. I learned a lot from when I was at MCNY. They're over there, by the way. Okay? I really, thank you. I learned a lot from that. I learned that emergency preparedness, you have to be ready at all times. But it doesn't just mean having the big go bag by your door, although you all should have one. It means the simple things. It means for those of us who are disabled, do you have your prescription? You don't have to have the actual pills with you, but do you have a copy of the prescriptions? Because maybe you can't access the pharmacy or the doctor's office. Did you download everything that you have into the cloud, upload it, or into, what is that called, a flash drive? And now, by the way, how many of you have done that? Do you sync everything? I see all of you in green. All of you should be raising your hand. Okay? But how many have you done that? All of your important documents. Do you have that uploaded or downloaded? If you don't, you should. Thank you. By the end of today, you should do that. And as a disabled person, I have to make sure that I have all of my information, my big file. I have to. But what does emergency planning mean? It means being prepared to the best of your ability. It means understanding that you might not get help for a day, a week. Are you ready for that? Can you shelter in place? Do you know what shelter in place means? As a disabled person, I have to think about that. By the way, when I was describing what I look like, I didn't also mention I have sign language interpreters in front of me because I don't hear. In my left eye, I don't see. And in case you didn't see this, I'm also physically disabled. I have a crutch. This is my other half. So I have to think about if the elevators are recalled to the first floor, what am I going to do? Where I work, I'm on the 22nd floor. Does this mean I'm going to get on my butt and slide down the stairs? Nope, because everybody behind me is going to push me. I choose life. We're going to figure it out. I live on the 14th floor, and while I would love to be able to rappel off my balcony, I've been told that I can't really do that. I don't know why. But I have to think about what will work for me as a disabled person. Do I sit and wait while I'm sheltering in place and hope that someone comes to help me? I need to be ready. We need to be ready. So how does that happen? You need to talk to us. For someone who can't hear, to say, oh, we're going to ring the bells and the alarms. That's nice. I don't hear it, but that's cute. Or someone, don't you have someone that lives with you? I'm a New Yorker. I live by myself, and I'm happy with that. I don't know half my neighbors. And when I do know them, I stare at them. Like, who are you looking at? So, I'm a New Yorker. We have to be ready. I can't stress that enough. So, how many of you have a go bag? Everybody at that table should be raising their hand, right? I'm also looking over there. How many of you have a go bag? Okay? For those of you who don't, I remember when I first heard about a go bag. And in my little mind, it was like, oh, okay, I'm going on vacation, right? I got that. Now, your go bag is real simple. You don't want to have the big jug of water, because where are you carrying that? Even if you're fit, after a couple of blocks, you're going to get tired. You're ready to sell the water. You're not carrying it. But you know the little Capri Suns? They have water packs just like that. Put a few in there. Some granola bars. I was taught when I used to do the simulation of real world events, bring granola bars, candy bars, and stuff them in your pack, your pockets, the khakis. Same thing. A couple of granola bars, a couple of power bars, something like that. If you're desperate, you know people in the military get some MREs, meals ready to eat. When I said desperate, you really need to be desperate. But put those in your bag. Toothbrush, toothpaste, things that will make you feel a little bit normalized, if I can use that word. Because if you have to leave, you're now going to be disconcerted as well. Don't forget your medication, or at least the list of what you take. Please, you'd be surprised how many people go, I take the red pill. What's a red pill? Are you watching the Matrix? You need to know your meds. You need to know what you're taking. If you have a service animal, pack food for the dog, or, well, service animals are usually dogs now. Some people have tried to do them in horses, but you need to be prepared. Unarmed deodorant, please. It's a good thing. If you don't remember to pack anything, pack that, please. Okay? But also, pack pajamas, pack your slippers. See how simple this bag is? You're not packing like the 4 pounds of spaghetti and the 20-pound bag of rice. You don't have to do that. But pack things that make sense. A pair of sensible, comfortable shoes. Not the really pretty ones, the comfortable ones. Because you might be walking. Bring your slippers. Simple bag, but you should all have it. By your door, in your car, at work. People used to laugh at me when I worked at my other job because I had a go bag in my office. I had a go bag when I carried my knapsack, which by the way is downstairs. But my go bag is very simple. I have a go bag by my door and I have a go bag by my balcony. I'm ready. I'm ready to shelter in place if necessary, and I'm ready to leave if necessary. I'm out. But I know what works for me. So incorporating disability, it's asking us. It's having us at the table. It's not telling me. You don't tell me. You ask us, what works for you? What works for you as a person who has mobility issues? What works for you if you're a person with multiple disabilities? What works for you if you're a person with mental health disabilities? If you have sensory disabilities, TBI? But you need to ask us. Don't presume. Right now, if all the lights went off in this room, if all the power went off in this building, how many of you would know where the exit is, where the stairs are? One person raised a hand. That means everybody that's table raising your hand. But that's important. Did you look at the exits when you came in? Did you look at the elevator? Did you look to see where the stairs are? Did you count it? Because if the power goes off and the lights are off, you're not going to be looking like, okay, well, I see the light for the exit. Suppose that doesn't kick on right away. I know of one instance in the blackout of '03, yes, I'm older, where there was an agency that worked with people who were blind. All of the blind staff let everybody else out of the building. Blind staff knew where the exits were. They knew how many steps it was to get to the exit. Everybody who was sight dependent, scared. They didn't know what to do. Things like that. You incorporate us. You ask us. You talk to us. Don't tell me. During the blackout of '03, I have night blindness. So even though I'm already blind in the left eye, I can't see at night. It's always a joke. Who knows? I'm standing behind a fire hydrant again as a child. I can't tell. I really can't tell. So during the blackout of '03, I'm outside at night waiting for my son who's at camp, and I'm just totally trying to depend on the one eye. And then I had to stop and say, wait a minute, close your eyes, that works. Now you know where you are. Orient yourself to where you are. Because all the people who are upset and there's talking and yelling, I don't know what I'm looking at. So I had to stop for a moment. I had a couple of people who could see, who told me what I needed to do. No, don't do that. Let me figure it out first for myself. Let me know, let me figure it out. Then we can work together. And subsequent things that have happened in my former agency, we had a flood. And by the way, flooding in a building is very interesting. We worked in the basement. I never understood about when people said the water rushed in a matter of minutes. In a matter of seconds, it was at my knees. So when I was in my basement office, literally in less than 15 seconds, the water was up to my knees in the dark, in the basement. We had not prepared for that one event. Again, I graduated from MCNY. I thought I knew everything. I did not think about, in my COOP plan, continuity operations, right? My emergency evac plan, I did not prepare for that. And I was scared. Did I mention, can't see, can't hear, mobility issues. And I'm thinking in 2 more minutes, I'm gonna be swimming out of this office. It taught me something. You have to prepare for as much as you can. And then after that, let's go with God. But why am I bringing that up? Because it was an office that worked with the disabled, and I forgot to include the disabled in that plan. I forgot to think about that plan. It didn't occur to me. Oh, building, flooding, New York City, duh. You best believe after we got out of that, I made changes the next day. I started talking to constituents, my staff, sat down with myself. Self, what do we do? Because that was a scary event that I thought, why didn't I think of this? I didn't. So from now on, all of my emergency evac plans, contingency plans. And I look at it from the perspective of people who can't hear, people who can't see, people with physical disabilities. What happens if you're in a wheelchair, a motorized chair, and flooding happens in the section where you are, as opposed to a manual chair? What do you do? Well, I can't tell you unless I talk to those that I just mentioned in those groups. Make sense? So I can lecture, but I've never really liked that. I prefer question, answer, dialogue. So, questions, comments, anything? I can talk forever, but anyone? Ferris Bueller, anyone?
Commissioner Curry, we do have some questions virtually that I'd like to ask you before we open it up onto the floor. So
Sure.
the first question is, I'm in a wheelchair and I can't tell you how many times I've said to myself, what should I do when evacuating? I live in a high rise, and is there anything I should know how to evacuate during an emergency?
Well, the first thing I was taught, thank you for that question. First thing I was taught, and no, they didn't pay me, was from MCNY, was if you live in a building, a high-rise building, go to your management office and say, I want to see your emergency evac plans. Usually scares the Jesus out of them. And yes, I did go wearing my MCMY emergency management jacket. Yeah, I really did. Okay? I wanted a response. And when I went in, it freaked everybody out. But that's the first thing you should do. If none of you have done it, go. Because you'd be surprised how many times I'll look at you and go, huh? What? Oh, well, let me get back to you on that. No, don't accept that. So the first thing you do, someone who uses a chair, is ask to see their emergency evacuation plan. Do they know that you're there? Do they know what floor you're on? Now, I live in a high-rise building, and they send this form out every year. Identify yourself if you're disabled, blah, blah. And my response on that form is, who has access to that? Where does it go? What are you going to do with it? Because, again, I'm a New Yorker. I don't want everyone to have my information. And where I live, there's a high turnover rate. So if you live in a building and they ask you to fill out that form, that's your choice. But you should know who has access to it and what do they plan to do with it. And does that mean they're going to talk to you about the emergency evac plan that they have? The other option is shelter in place. If you live in a high rise, there's a very real possibility that your elevator is going to be called down to the first floor. So you need to be prepared for that. Do you have enough food and water in your home to last a minimum of a week? It used to be wait 3 days, help might come. Now we're looking at possibly a week or longer. Do you have that? Do you have your medication? Do you have, if you have a service animal, do you have enough food for your animal as well, your fur baby? Things like that. Do your neighbors know that you're there? Are your neighbors aware of the fact that you use a wheelchair? In the event of emergency, can they assist you to leave if you cannot, in fact, shelter in place? And if you cannot, please understand the very real likelihood that your wheelchair will be left in your home. If the firemen come to rescue you, they're going to do the fireman carry. They're going to take you down to the first floor, and then they're going to put you in an ambulance, which is probably going to take you to the hospital, who will then discharge you to a nursing home. You need to be prepared what to do so that you are not stuck in said nursing home. Also, fire department, do they know that you're there? They should. Things like that. You need to look at all possible scenarios. Don't get scared. Be prepared. That's what I want you to do. Be prepared. As a disabled person, the responsibility is on us to an extent to let everybody know that we exist, that we're here, so that we do not become an acceptable loss category, i.e. dead. I choose life. So I'm doing whatever I can. So the person who asked that question, first and foremost, start with your landlord management company. Find out what they have on file. Make sure that they know that you're there. Hope that answered your question.
Great, thank you. Now that we're waiting for more virtual questions, I'd love to open it up to the space if anyone has a particular question they'd like to ask Commissioner Curry. And Dustin can go and help us with the microphone bringing that up. Thank you, Emily.
Hi, my name is Carol Johnson. I'm the incident commander for Harlem Emergency Network and the disaster liaison for the East Harlem Co-ed. As a handicapped person, I think something vital was left out, and that's communications. How many people have a backup battery charger right now with you? This is what it looks like. Because if the power goes out, I have something to back up the hour. I also would suggest that you take your information, your vital information. Here's my go bag. I didn't leave it downstairs because if I have to leave right there, here's my chair. If I have to leave that chair, I have my cane right here with me, I have my go bag with me, everything is with me, I can grab it and go. The thing is, when you put your information into your phone, remember, if there's a blackout and the grid drops, you can't get it out again. So I would put it in a place like notes, something that you can open without internet, a text message, something you can open without internet. But the other thing is that I actually have a hard copy of my medications in my bag. Always try to keep a hard copy, don't depend on internet. Because when the grid drops, y'all don't even have a backup battery. So if the grid drops and you don't have any lines left, you can't even go in and get the information out. You know, but I would suggest that everybody do that. Get that backup plan. And no, one more thing I want to say is that's a personalized thing. Pass this information off to people that you know. It's personalized. Your go bag is personalized. I wear glasses. There's my reading glasses, but these are readers. So I have readers in here. I don't use contact lenses. If you do, you need to have contact lenses and solution in your bag. Whatever you need in your bag. Make it light, make it personal. Yours is not going to look like mine. So this is information that you pass off to your seniors and help them develop a plan that is personalized for what you need. You need extra medicine? Put it in the bag. Thank you for that.
Before you speak, thank you, sorry. I just wanted to say thank you very much for that information. You are correct. As disabled people, we need to make sure that our bags are personalized for us. And you're right, I didn't mention the waterproof matches, put everything in a plastic bag. Make sure that you have a hard copy. You are correct, I did not mention that. Chargers, most people have that, but the one thing I will say, always have your phone charged. Always have your devices charged. And older adults, that's something a little bit different, because when you talk about older adults, you also talk about a phenomenon that's called fast-slow. The faster you need the person to go, the slower they may appear to move. So I know for me, I actually look like a cartoon when I'm going backwards. The more I'm supposed to move, and when I become a little bit excited about something, or in the event of emergency, you need to rush. Someone, and that's not also just with older adults, but it's also some people who have TBI, some who are neurodiverse. But you are correct. Each bag is your bag. That's all I'm saying. Make it light, doesn't have to have the 15 pounds of rice and so forth. Make it your bag. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chuck Frank, and I'm from MCNY, and I just want to say that there's something that links Carol to Christina, and that is that they prioritized this. They didn't wait. Carol is super prepared, and she has never been to MCNY.
Really? Are we gonna get her in?
I don't think I can teach her anything. She's all over this, right? And Carol and Christina both have not procrastinated, not said, you know what, I'm going to get to that. They're ready to go. And that's the thing that everybody needs to do. Don't keep putting it off. Ask some of the folks in public health in this city how much of a priority pandemic planning was. It wasn't. It was something that everybody thought, that's not happening during my career. Those come around every 15, 20 years, right? And then they get caught with a whole bunch of equipment that is now outdated. So this prioritization and taking care and getting ready right now is the key. Thanks.
Thank you. That's important. Like I said, since 9/11, I've been involved in some way, form, for emergency preparedness. Because again, I choose life. I do not want to be in the acceptable loss category. Not because of something that I could have prepared for. If it's inevitable, it's inevitable, but at least I went out fighting. I went out prepared, or as prepared as I can be. So, other question? Yes, hello.
Hi, my name is Yom Sobe. I'm the Executive Director of the CIDA. CIDA stands for Community Inclusion and Development Alliance. We serve Asian American persons with disabilities and their families in Queens and Long Island. And first of all, Commissioner Curry, we thank you for your amazing work. And I really appreciate giving us the opportunity to ask a question for our community. The majority of the persons we serve through our programs are persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We went through the needs assessment process as we joined the New York City Emergency Management Team for the first time this year. We realized that many of them are not able to aware danger signs, emergency alerts, and we try to create the emergency network that can call. But sometimes it's very, very challenging for the community-based organizations to create such a network because we alone have about 700 and 800 families who have a children with disability. Majority of them have children entering age of majority. Compared to 10 years ago, when people with an intellectual and developmental disability being institutionalized or go to the residential, nowadays these people are encouraged to live in a community setting. We do not have infrastructure ready for these people. We tried our best to figure out the method, but if you give us some suggestion or advice, as of now, I mean, we look forward to make it better for the future, 5-10 years later. For now, let's say something happens, the pandemic or the weather disaster in May or June, and what would suggest that could be a better way to serve these people as a network? You mentioned just letting these local fire department about the person living in somewhere, but again, we have too many people affected by this intellectual disability. You can suggest a couple of things that I really appreciate. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question, and wow, wish I knew about you when I worked at Harlem. We would have definitely have connected. So, what's out there? You'd be surprised all the agencies, since the pandemic, as Director Frank had mentioned, people are really looking at emergency preparedness in a different way. Before, it was looking at our brick and mortar structure and what happens if that catches fire, if it collapses. Now it's more, let's look at all things that we have to prepare for it, be it a pandemic, a flood, and so forth. So one of the things that might help, if not for the actual person who's disabled, the family members that are around, making sure you sign up for the alerts that come on your phone, that come on your computer and laptop. Those alerts help a lot. And the alerts are really kind of simple enough now that most people can read it and understand. But we have to work with them also and say, maybe we need an alert that says, get ready to go. You need to leave. One big word, evacuate. Work with agencies such as NYSEP to say, my community needs something different. So those alerts may have many, many, many words, but my community can't read all of that or understand it or comprehend it. So I need something that says, leave. I need something that says, be ready. Things like that. But it's also not only just NYSEP, but you have my great friend over here, CERT team, to talk to them, work with them. What happens? What do I do? How do I get involved? Can you tell me what I can do for my community? But more important, talk to your community. If you have people with intellectual disabilities, ask them, talk to them. Don't wait until the actual disaster. Let them know. You'd be surprised what they do understand and what they don't understand. But you'll never know if you don't talk to them first. Don't talk around them. Don't talk about them. Talk with them. Not lecture down. That's crucial. That is crucial because they're paying attention also. So start with that, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions in this space? And please be sure to limit your thoughts to questions. Yes, Jill.
Thank you, Commissioner Curry. My name is Jill Cornell. I work in New York City Emergency Management. And I'm actually the coach for SIDA, S-I-D-A. But I actually feel that they are my coach because I'm learning so much from them. And my question is really geared towards our emergency networks, current and future. And part of our program, we encourage them, underscore for them to connect to organizations that serve people with disabilities. And a common question that we get is, how can I locate them? So now, I never knew that CIDA even existed until they applied for the program. So I'm not sure, it seems that there are great resources there, and how can we connect our community emergency networks to them?
Thank you for that. So, one of the things, other than nothing about us without us, is start from where that community is. So, when you're networking, do you speak the language in the community that you're going to? That's something that, believe it or not, a lot of people forget. Is your flyer in Spanish? If you send it out in English, that's wonderful. You're missing a whole community. Is it in, how do you work with the Chinese or the Asian community? What about the Haitian community? It's learning, for example, I used to say at the NICEM meetings, that there should be a meeting just in sign language. Because when you have the interpreter, I'm losing something. But if it's all just deaf people and we're all just signing, and it's someone who's explaining and talking to me, boom, direct, I'm getting that. I feel more comfortable as opposed to I'm sitting in the corner with the interpreter in front of me, and I feel isolated. So I'm not likely to engage. It's reaching out and talking. If you're going to something where you're trying to reach seniors, well, are you a senior yourself, an older adult? Because I'm sorry, now that I've hit a certain age, I kind of don't look at 25-year-olds like they know what they're talking about. When they say, oh, well, you can just run down the stairs. No, but my knees don't move like that anymore. So I need someone who understands that when I get up, I sound like a box of cereal, pop, and everything, and I can't move. I need someone who's going to be able to relate to that. So if you're reaching out, how do you find them? Well, first you identify the group that you're trying to reach, and then you send someone who looks like them, because they're going to trust you a little bit better than someone who doesn't. It is what it is. So if you come to Harlem, and you don't look like the neighborhood, you might not get a lot of results, as opposed to, you're from Harlem, you know the language, you know the culture. When I worked in Harlem and I had to go to East Harlem, just because I'm deaf doesn't mean I can't speak another language. So that's what we have to do. We have to reach them where they are. And always talk to them. Always talk to the community you're trying to reach. I'm going to keep saying, nothing about us without us. Because you don't know what we need until we tell you. Make sense? Yeah?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
Are there any more questions? All right, great. I have a few more online questions that I'll share. The first one is, how would you let the fire department know if you're a disabled person living in your home?
That's a good question. I had an uncle who was a firefighter, and we used to have a discussion all the time about that. And for firefighters, it's different because they're coming in to do a specific job. And usually, if they're knocking on your door, you open it, you see them there, that means something not good is happening. So, to let a firefighter know, I have gone to the firehouse that covers my area. Sometimes they stare at me like I've lost my mind. Sometimes they're like, oh, okay, that's nice. It's kind of unfortunately hit or miss. But we do have a new commissioner who's working with the fire department so that they understand we're here. So I think changes are happening so that when you go to the firehouse, they will be more receptive. And if not, then you need to call the fire department itself, the head office, and ask. So what do we do? I'm here. I went to the firehouse. They didn't seem that receptive. I need them to know in the event of an emergency, this is where I am. What I don't recommend, and what most firefighters don't recommend, is the decal on your door that says, you know, service animal, babies, older adult, disabled person lives here. And the reason why it's not recommended is people move. And you don't always remove that decal. So a firefighter might see that and think there's a disabled person in the home when in fact they're not. So we don't really recommend the decal. I'm not saying don't do it if that's what you want, but it's not really recommended. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And we have our last question, which is, would you be able to access your building emergency plan without discussing it with management? Is it filed with a particular agency?
No, it's, to my knowledge, it's always through management. So the person or company that owns it would have it on file. The management company where you live will have it on file. And I cannot think of a reason why you wouldn't want them to know. I would actually want them to know because now it's, if you didn't make a plan that incorporates the disabled or an older adult, now you have to. And here I am. I am the expert, subject matter expert on disability for me. So I would want management to know, I'm looking at your plan, I'm reviewing your plan. And if the plan doesn't work, then we need to talk to revise the plan.
Great, thank you. And that was our last virtual question. Does anyone else in this space have a question they'd like to ask Commissioner Curry? One last question?
Peace and blessings, Commissioner. I just want to know, what do you think about identification bracelets? Is that something that would be a good idea? If you have MS, or if you are a diabetic, or you have a heart condition, or you are visually impaired, etc.
There's a lot of debate on that one. As someone who used to wear the medical alert necklace, and the nurse almost choked me trying to look at it, I stopped wearing it, and I had the really cute bracelet that identified my major disabilities, and then I live in the South Bronx, I worked in Harlem, so that bracelet was shiny and pretty, and so I, well, you know what, we might want to hide that one. I say whatever works for that person. I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no. Because if it works for you, then wear it. But if it doesn't, then don't. I keep a list on my phone. I keep a list in writing of all of my disabilities, all of my meds, primary doctor. It's a little novel that I keep, and I update it accordingly. Will anyone look at it in times of emergency? Most times not, but I have it with me as a just in case. So it really depends on that person and what works for you. I don't expect or think that I'm gonna have family members with me in the event of an emergency. So that's why I do what I do, which is, like I said, it's on the phone, hard copy. I also have it on flash drive. I took pictures of all my meds, things like that. It's whatever you need to do to be prepared for you. That's what you need to think of. Okay?
Thank you. So we have time for 2 more questions, and yes, you can go first.
My question is, what is the biggest challenge you face right now in your role in the mayor's office? What is there one thing, one single thing you could change? What would that be?
I mentioned I've only been working 6 months. Oh, talk to me in another 6 months. Interesting. Biggest challenge. I think as a person with a hearing loss, it's getting people to understand who the 2 young men are in front of me and why they're there. Because people will listen to my voice and say, but you speak so loud. Okay, my speech teacher thanks you, but that doesn't mean I can hear you. So it's getting people to also understand I don't see. So if you're standing on the side that doesn't see, as far as I'm concerned, you don't exist. I have to constantly turn my head back and forth. How is that a challenge really for me? In the event of an emergency, I don't see anything on the left side. So my balance, and I have to think about how do I get out? If there are a bunch of people on my left side, as I'm trying to hop, slide, limp down the stairs, what do I do? My biggest challenge really is letting people see me as a disabled person and telling them my IQ didn't slip because I can't hear, because I can't see, because I have an assistive device when I'm walking. It's letting people know that I know what I'm talking about, and if I don't, I won't talk about it. I'll listen and learn. Well, listen to the assistants and them. Thank you for that question. Thank you.
Thank you. And on to our final question.
I'm not sure if it's still morning or afternoon, but hello. My question is a very practical question. So we talked about, to-go bags, chargers, extra medication, and all those things have a cost tied into them. And so I'm wondering, with people who may be on, or families on fixed income, are there any subsidies available for them to be better prepared in whether it's a to-go bag or extra medication? Medication expires, so I assume if you're doing a to-go bag, you have to constantly check your to-go bag for those things that might expire. So my question is sort of where
Thank you. That question gets asked a lot about money. And there was someone who, she's no longer with us, who was disabled, who said, we're not asking you to go food shopping and dump it all in your bag. It's the going to the dollar store and picking up a few things. It's when you're food shopping and you see something on sale, maybe instead of buying and putting the 5 packs of spaghetti away, put 1 in the bag. It's the toothpaste that's on sale, so you put it in your bag. It's the cookies that are on sale, you put it in your bag. It's being economical about what you're doing, but again, as was stated earlier, I'm sorry, I got your name. Okay, I should remember that, because it's also the letter C. I will, thank you, C, okay. As Ms. Johnson said, Carl Johnson said, you make the bag light, you make it for yourself. So you should have a bag for your children. They can carry a little knapsack, and in that little knapsack is a pair of pajamas and their favorite toy, or their second favorite toy, and a pair of slippers, and their toothbrush, and a little thing of toothpaste. It's putting things in the bag that makes sense for you, that's not going to break your bank. Because to my knowledge, there isn't a subsidy out there, but it's called being economical. When you go food shopping, just kind of rethink. And yes, you do have to check your bag to make sure the water hasn't expired or gone stale. Put the food in there that has a shelf life of 3 years or something like that. But you need to really just think about what makes sense for you. We live in a city where you have buildings that are fireproof and non-fireproof. If you live in a building that has a fire escape, you really need to think about, if it's not your apartment, it's the person next to you who's gonna kick over the heater. And if that happens, your apartment is going too, probably. So you need to be prepared for little things that you didn't think of before. But when it comes to the disabled, again, what I keep saying is, nothing about us without us. If you have someone disabled in your home and you've never thought about it before, talk to them now. Because if you have a fire escape on your building, how does that person get out? If the person's blind and they've never gone down a fire escape before, how do you expect them to get out? If it's someone who has balance issues, no peripheral vision or no central vision, have you practiced a drill in your home on what to do? How do you get out? Little things like that. Talk to your building manager. Have you ever had a fire drill in your building where you live? Because that seems to be one of the most common statements after a fire. People didn't know what to do because no one ever practiced on what to do. And that is also including the disabled. Did you practice what to do? If your wheelchair stops, if you use a motorized chair and you didn't power it up and now you have to leave, what is your contingency plan? Have you thought about that? This is cane crutch number 4. I tend to break them, don't ask why. But as a result, I need to think about, if I have to leave in the event of an emergency right now, what can I do? Oh, you best believe I'm gonna get out of here. It's gonna take a while, but I'm out. And as a deaf person, I'm visual. I got the one working eye. If all of you jumped up right now and started heading to exits, I'm right behind you. Won't know why, but I am right there behind you. And if you go to the stairs, I'm gonna go to the stairs too and be mad, but I'm behind you. But getting back to what you asked, it's all about thinking about the future and just putting a little in at a time. And we're not asking you to do the go bag all at once. That's not possible. Because you do have to think about what to put in there that makes sense for you, that you can actually carry. So.
Great, thank you for that question. And I think that is it for the questions today. I appreciate everyone providing Commissioner Curry with some questions and comments. This is the end of our first session today, so I deeply want to thank Commissioner Curry for such a wonderful session this morning.